Today is on about being a next level client manager. So we've covered a lot about deep and narrow teams. We know that in a typical deep and narrow team, we need to have a senior client manager, assistant client manager, that senior production manager, and then perhaps 3 or 4 grinders with an admin attached. And that's pretty much good for about $1 million in fees. I don't know, regardless of whatever currency you're in. And it's not enough that we just point to someone senior in our firm and go, all the emails and client communications are going to you now. Because they grew up grinding. They grew up through the ranks, grinding and moving up because they were more technical. But being a client manager is something very few people can do competently. I don't know how accurate this stat is, but essentially, if you have a cohort of accounting students, 80% of them will be grinders, 20% of them would be minders, and maybe 20 of that 20 would be finding type personalities. And the finding type personalities usually characterized by their interpersonal skills. They are adept at talking the sizzle rather than knowing the sausage, so to speak. Okay, so they can go, look, I don't recommend buying a property under your own personal name. I suggest this instead. So they can converse with the clients and be able to relate and advise them. That is definitely not an easy skill to train. And what makes the deep and narrow team work really well is our ability to transfer these relationships from us as the owners and on to client managers in a team, and those clients becoming the responsibility of those client managers. So here to get us started on, a brief over the role of what a client manager is, Ed, could you take us through, again, what is the role of a client manager and what sort of tasks are they responsible for?
Oh, thanks, Thomas. Yes, in order to grow your business, you got to set up a team. And the team is made up of different skill sets, personalities, and so forth. And right at the top is the senior client manager. They've got to have an ability to communicate with their clients and to connect with them. Because at the end of the day, our business is about people. And if you want to grow your business, you want to get referrals. It's about your relationship with your clients and how you're connecting with them. And, the best way to do it is through your ability to communicate. And not everyone can communicate and not everyone likes to communicate. There's a lot of people who like to just sit there and do the work. And if you put someone in the wrong seat and expect them to do something that they're not built to do, so to speak, then it's really, really difficult. I see people say to me, my client managers, they don't talk to my clients, they just send out emails. Well, because maybe they're not a real people person, they're more comfortable with just sending out emails, and trying to get that person to pick up the phone and talk to the client, and they're not built that way, it's very, very difficult. So the old saying, it's very hard to change a leopard's spots, is very true. So it's much better to build an ideal team structure so you've got the right people with the right personalities playing in position rather than playing out of position. So right at the top is your senior client manager, and your senior client manager's role is to increase their portfolio. First thing. So if they've got 600,000 fees, they need to grow it. If they've got $1 million in fees, then they need to grow that. And of course, if you don't have the right support structure underneath them, then they're going to hit capacity. And often when they're not picking the phone up to talk to clients, it's because they're getting overwhelmed with work and they don't have the right infrastructure underneath them or the team structure underneath them to get the work done. So the work ends up on their desk and they're grinding away instead of talking to their clients. Now, if you don't talk to your clients, or if you finish the tax return and you just send it out to the client to get their signature, you're not a senior client manager, you're more of a production manager. Okay, so a production manager's role is to get the production done. They're not particularly interested in growing their portfolio. They just want to turn that work around, get it done as efficiently as possible, run the team, get the team trained up. So their role is completely different. Right? So today we're talking about the senior client manager. So, what's the personality of that person? What are their objectives? Their objectives is to increase the portfolio. And increasing the portfolio means that, you're getting referrals from your clients' friends and family. And the only way you're going to get more referrals from is for you to spend more time in front of them, whether that's through advisory or responding very quickly to questions. So at Channel, we have to respond on the same day. And if you do that, you're going to get referrals from them. So, but if you're not responding because you haven't got a right team structure, you might have a flat team structure and they're not able to respond to their clients, then you're not going to get referrals from your clients. And of course, the other thing is I see firms just, when they finish the text return, just send it out for signature. You need to pick up the phone and talk to them about the result. And that little bit of extra actually means a lot, because I don't see the 6 or 7 hours that you put into doing the work. All they see is that 5 minutes of conversation. And if you don't do that 5 minutes of conversation, you might have done a brilliant job. You spent 5 hours doing the work and done a brilliant job. But that 5 minutes of conversation is where the value is. And if you don't do that, and you tend not to do that if you're a production manager, you focus on productivity, getting the work done and out the door. But a senior client manager's role is to increase their portfolio. The only way to do that is to talk to your clients. So you pick up the phone and you talk to them about the results. But just that little act, you're going to get a lot more of a rapport with the clients, and then they're going to refer your clients. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, of course, is to make sure your team's profitable. Okay, so our teams run at a minimum of 25% EBITDA. So as an owner of my firm, I need to get a 25% return on my capital. And most accounting firms sell on the basis of $1 per dollar. So your turnover is basically the goodwill. And if you're doing an EBITDA of 25%, then your return on your capital is around 25%. So each team needs to show a minimum of 25% to show a reasonable return on the shareholders' capital. So everyone needs to win. The clients need to win, the staff needs to win, and the shareholders need to win. But if we don't run our businesses properly, then, often through mismanagement, everybody loses, including the shareholders. So that's the second objective. And how you measure all that is through your net promoter scores. So you got an NPS. So we've got an NPS, which is net promoter score. It's a survey with the clients. And then there's a survey with our staff. So if the clients are giving you a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10, they're going to go out of their way to refer you. So it's a very easy measurement. So if you're getting 9 out of 10 through your surveys and 10 out of 10s, your business is growing. But if you're getting like 7 or 8 out of 10, your clients are happy, but they won't go out of their way to refer you, right? So they'll be there, but they won't tell their friends about you. They're just happy, but they're not ecstatic. Right now, if they're getting scores of 5 or 6 out of 10, they'll actually leave. So they're just waiting for someone to approach them, and as soon as someone offers them something, they're gone, right? And then if they're under 5, if they're giving you less than 5, they're going out of their way to say bad things about you. And your NPS is the best measurement of how your teams are performing. So you need to run those net promoter scores to see how your teams are performing. And of course, there's an NPS for your staff. So the other role is to make sure the staff's happy. And we know that because we run NPSs with our staff. And if there's an issue, you address it very quickly. You don't leave it, because your body language when you leave something is that you don't care. But if you address an issue, whether it's a client issue or a staff issue, and you address it very quickly, then your body language is that you care about them.
Yeah. That's a pretty interesting thing there, Ed. Like, client managing is not just about the stuff that happens with the clients and the work, but there's an element to the senior client manager, especially, kind of being responsible for the morale and the performance of the team overall. Like, even though the production manager is there to like make sure the production is going, that senior client manager is like their leader overall, right?
They're responsible. They work very closely with the senior production manager. They work very, very closely together to ensure that productivity is flowing. There's no blockages to productivity. The morale is high. and NPS scores are coming back. And of course, if the NPS scores are not coming back, they've got to get together and work out what the problem is. I call that a blockage. So their job is to remove blockages. So if you get a poor NPS score, that's a blockage. You've got to get together and work out what it is that's causing the low NPS score and find solutions to the problem. So they work very, very closely together. Now, if you don't get the personalities right and they're clashing, they're not both rowing in the same direction, you're going to have a lot of problems. But if they're both rowing in the same direction, you get huge synergy. You get this 1 + 1 = 5 outcome. The sum of its parts is the productivity is huge when they're working really, really well together. So getting the personalities right is very important. And as the owner, all I spend time is just working out, making sure, my teams are correct, the personalities are correct, and everybody's in the right seat and everyone's playing in position, not out of position.
Yes. That has to be the comprehensive view on the client manager's role and what they're responsible for, from dealing with the clients to the team.